If you want money back in your pocket every time you spend, this video is for you. There are a ton of cards out there that give you some amazing value, but only when you know when and where to use these cards. A card that's great for travel perks and benefits may be horrible for everyday spend. I'm looking at you, Amex Platinum. And so in this video, we'll go over the best credit cards you need for everyday use, putting money back in your pockets every time you spend, along with some upgrade options to really beef up your credit card setup. Starting with a credit card that's straightforward, plain and simple, the Wells Fargo Active Cash card. And by that, I mean not having to worry about when to use this card or how to get the most value. Because with earning 2% back on all of your spend, even with this card alone and not caring about anything else, you're pretty much getting a 2% discount on everything. Combine that with getting $200 back after spending just $500 in the first 3 months, along with no annual fees, there's really no downside if you qualify for this card, especially with getting a 40% return on that initial spend. What's more is that if you need it, there is a 0% intro APR offer on the first 15 months. Now, I've personally never used this bonus, given I like to stick with the golden rule of credit cards, which is to always pay off your bill in full and on time every single time. But if you do need it, that's an option. If you have cell phones, which most people have nowadays, you'll also get cell phone protection against damage or theft, up to $600 after a $25 deductible. It may not cover the entire cost of some of the latest phones out there, but you'll still save a lot if that ever happens, granted you pay for your cell phone bill with the card. Now, what if 2% is not enough for you? And what if you want a bit more punch to the earning you get for your spend and don't mind thinking just a little bit more? Where in return, you'll get an unlimited 3% back on some very common categories while still paying no annual fees? Well, then you want to consider the next card, the Wells Fargo Autograph, giving you 3 times points across really common categories spanning restaurants, travel and transit, gas, streaming, and phone plans. For my spend, I would probably say restaurants and travel would be my biggest areas. Now, you might have noticed the difference between this card and the Active Cash, and that's to do with the way you get rewarded. Back on the Active Cash, you are getting 2% back. Here on the Active Cash, it's 3 times points back. Let me explain. So with the Active Cash, you're getting plain and simple cash back. You spend $100, you get $2 back. With the Active Cash, you spend $100, you're getting 300 points back. With those points, you can then convert them back to cashback at the 1 cent per point rate, so 300 points giving you back $3. The cool part is using these points to redeem for higher value through methods like Wells Fargo's transfer partners. Now, the list isn't that long right now, especially compared to some other issuers that we'll see later, but it's possible to convert your Wells Fargo autograph points over to these partners and redeem for flights at higher than the 1 cent per point rate. If you want a deeper walkthrough, let me know down in the comments, but for example, 83,500 Wells Fargo autograph points will give you $835 back. However, instead, you can transfer your points over to a program like Flying Blue and redeem for a 13-hour flight on China Airlines business class over to Taipei for the same 83,500 points. This is what I did booking for a flight next year, where the cash value would have been $1,930 per way, valuing these points at over 2.3 cents per point, more than double that of just straight cashback. That's like turning your Active Cash to earning you 4% back and your autograph card to earning you 6% back in value when used this way. Oh, and that's on top of the 20,000 points or at least $200 value worth as a welcome bonus after spending $1,000 over the first 3 months, having no annual fees, a 12-month 0% intro APR offer, and the same cell phone protection plan. Put the 2 cards together and you have a really simple but powerful setup, earning you that baseline 2% back on everything and a higher 3% on some pretty common everyday categories. And even better, you can convert the cash rewards you earn on the Active Cash over to your autograph card at the same 1 cent per point rate if you choose to redeem that way. Alright, now maybe you don't like Wells Fargo, or maybe you have other reasons. Having more options is always great for us consumers. And this next card gives you exactly that with some solid 3% categories, with some overlap but includes one everyday category not covered in the other cards that most people would probably like, and that's groceries. Yes, with the Capital One Saver One card, you'll earn an unlimited 3% back when spending on groceries, dining, entertainment, and popular streaming services, along with 5% back on hotels and car rentals through their portal, and 8% for Capital One Entertainment. Now, at face value, this card is pretty similar to the Autograph card, having no annual fees, a similar intro APR offer, a couple different 3x categories, but a slightly lower $200 back after spending $500 in the first 3 months. If you want to keep things simple and earn a solid rate for your everyday spend, then choose the card that has the categories you spend the most in. The difference between them though is how you actually use your rewards. And that's where the first upgrade option comes in with either the Capital One Venture 1, Venture, or Venture X cards. Similar to the Wells Fargo card, you can convert your cash rewards from your Saver One over to any one of these Venture cards as Venture Miles, potentially unlocking more value through other methods like transfer partners. Check out this video for a step-by-step walkthrough on some of these redemptions, but with a bit of patience and effort, you can pretty easily get 1.5 to 2 cents per point in value when going through these partners, further boosting the value you get from cards like the Saver One from 3% up to 4.5 or even 6% depending on what rate you're getting. Now, which of the Venture cards you choose is up to you and your spending lifestyle. There's a no annual fee version, a $95 version, and my favorite, the $395 Capital One Venture X, which I think is the best card for people who travel at least a little bit. Because with the credits you get on the card pretty much negating the annual fee, not only does the card have some great travel benefits like lounge access and car rental status, it can act as your catch-all card, giving you 2 times miles on all of your spend, similar to cards like the Active Cash. And that's how I use my Venture X card. Speaking of favorites though, the next few cards are pretty popular when it comes to being simple but not sacrificing flexibility, and that's with the newly updated Citi Trifecta setup. First, you have the Citi Double Cash card. Similar to the Active Cash, this is your pretty much everyday catch-all card, earning you a flat 2% back on all of your spend, 1% when you buy and 1% when you pay it off. But again, if you follow that golden rule, paying off your bill in full and on time every single time, it's pretty much just a 2% card. There is a higher 18-month 0% intro APR offer, but the welcome bonus is a bit harder to hit at $200 after spending $1,500 over the first 6 months. You might notice a trend here, but even though this is a cash back card, the rewards you get are actually paid out in points instead. So instead of $200, you're getting 20,000 Citi thank you points, which can be used for cash back again, or more use cases when combined with a later card. Then if you want more punch again, you want to combine that with a Citi Custom Cash card. Similar welcome bonus, similar intro APR offer, but what's special here is getting 5% back on some of your spend, the highest return compared to any of the other cards we've talked about so far. And that's also where the flexibility comes in, because that 5% back is on up to $500 of spend every month, which can change month to month on your highest spend category, spanning some really broad and everyday categories like restaurants, gas stations, grocery stores, travel, transit, among a few others. Meaning the best way to use this card is choose the category you think you'll spend the most in for that month and only spend with that card in this category that month. That way you'll maximize getting the 5% back and put everything else on your Double Cash card to earn that baseline 2%. You can start to see similarities in these different combinations of cards across these different issuers. And that theme carries through to this next upgrade option that can really boost the value of all your Citi points, and that's with the newly updated Citi Strata Premier card. This is a card that in my opinion is a contender for being the most simple, all-encompassing card, and that's because of the categories you'll earn 3 times points in, covering your everyday restaurants, supermarkets, gas stations, and now EV stations, as well as travel and hotel, with 10 times points on hotel, car rentals, and attractions through their portal. With so much of most people's spend being put on those categories, getting an unlimited 3 times back on those categories is pretty amazing. That said, it does come with an annual fee of $95 per year, but is offset if you use the $100 credit on a hotel stay of at least $500 when booked through their Citi travel portal. On top of that, for a limited time, you're getting 75,000 points after 4,000 of spend in the first 3 months, which is valued at least $750, more than 7 times the annual fee already. But again, you can redeem those points as well as your Citi points earned on the Double Cash or Custom Cash cards through other means similar to Wells Fargo or Capital One by going through transfer partners. Not only do they also transfer to Flying Blue, which pretty much means just the welcome bonus alone already gets you pretty much up to what you need to book that flight to Taipei, but also a longer list of partners including Avianca, EVA, Singapore KrisFlyer, or even Virgin. If it were me, I think the EVA would be interesting given you can fly the airline to Taipei for just 75,000 points, or Virgin booking ANA to Japan for just 52,500 points one way, both of which will easily get you over 3 to 5 cents per point. Alright, so far we talked about 5 amazing everyday cards with a couple options to beef up your setup. But there's one issue where we haven't talked about, and if you looked into credit cards at all, it's probably one you'll never miss, and that's Chase. Now, although Chase is really popular for being valuable and flexible, I don't think it's the best out there for everyday use. Take their baseline catch-all Freedom Unlimited card. You're only earning 1.5 times points for all of your spend, along with 3 times for dining, but that's pretty much it for everyday categories. You're much better off with some of the other setups giving you 2 times on everything and 3 times on some broad common categories. That said, one card that I think still deserves a mention as a pretty good everyday card is one I've had for over 3.5 years now. The only problem is it can either be a total everyday card or go unused for months on end. And that's with the Chase Freedom Flex card. It has pretty similar bells and whistles to a lot of the other cards, the $200 bonus, a 0% intro APR offer, and even a higher $800 per claim cell phone protection plan. But what this card shines at is getting 5% back every quarter, up to $1,500 of spend in their rotating categories. A similar spending amount to the Custom Cash, but you don't get to choose your categories, which might not be a bad thing, because with multiple categories every quarter and categories being so broad that they're really useful, like Amazon, hotels, restaurants, grocery stores, and more, if that quarter fits your spending lifestyle, there can be a lot of value to be had those few months. 5% back on $1,500 of spend is $75 just like that, or 7,500 points you can combine with the next upgrade option, the Chase Sapphire Preferred. Similar to the Citi Strata Premier card, having this Sapphire card allows you to pull your points together and convert them to their transfer partners to redeem for outsized value. With this being their partners list, including programs like Hyatt, which most people love and puts Chase above most of the competition. And with a 60,000 point welcome bonus after spending $4,000 in the first 3 months, that's already enough for at least a couple nights at some fancy hotels. The only downside though is that this card only has a potential $50 credit to help offset that $95 annual fee, and doesn't have that great multipliers like 2 times points on travel, 3 times on dining, and 3 times on online groceries. So if you care more about Chase's unique partners list, like including Hyatt, then you may want to consider Chase's ecosystem of cards despite the not as great categories. If you don't, then maybe Citi, Capital One, or the Wells Fargo cards are better suited for you. Or if you don't want to worry about transfer partners at all, then you may want to consider the US Bank Cash Plus card, which combines elements of a few of the cards we've talked about today. Now, I still recommend having a card that will give you that baseline 2% back on all of your spend. But what this card does is gives you 5% back on up to $2,000 of spend every quarter on 2 categories of your choice. That's more flexibility choosing 2 categories compared to the Custom Cash, and more spend per quarter compared to both the Custom Cash and the Freedom Flex. Now, it really depends on your spending lifestyle, but the categories on this card are pretty unique and different compared to the rest, including ones like fast food, home utilities, department stores, electronics stores, and more. In my opinion, department and electronic stores will probably rack up the most spend, along with maybe furniture stores. But I think this card is either a big hit or a big miss depending on your situation. But as a no annual fee card, it doesn't hurt to keep it around and only use it when you need to. And as an honorable mention, there's also the US Bank Altitude Go card giving you 4 times points on dining if that's a big category of yours. Now, if you want an upgrade, This next card really caught my attention when fellow creator Stan the Credit Frog started talking about this a lot, and that's with the US Bank Altitude Reserve card, and for good reason. No, it's not the 50,000 point welcome bonus, nor the $325 travel and dining credit used to offset that $400 in annual fees. It's a 3 times multiplier on all your travel and mobile wallet purchases. The last part is huge because with more and more places taking tap, that's like earning 3 times points using your mobile wallet on all of your purchases, equaling 3% back in value. Depending on where you shop, that could mean getting 3% back in value on everything you buy. And that's really, really rare. On top of that, you can actually redeem these points at 1.5 cents per point for travel through their portal, pretty much bumping up the value you're getting to 4.5% back on all of your spend. But here's the cherry on top. There's a program called the Real-Time Mobile Rewards that texts you a link asking if you want to use your points to redeem for recent travel purchases that were direct with a merchant outside of their US Bank portal. The only issue is it's not that clear what actually counts for travel. There's a resource I found that I'll link down below that compiles people's experiences on where it worked and where it didn't work. Although it seems to include a lot of places like Uber, Lyft, Uber Cash, or a ton of travel merchants. So for those of you who want some solid cash back, then this card should be near the top of your consideration list. And especially if you travel or don't want to deal with transfer partners, getting 1.5 cents per point in value for travel on top of the 3 times points earned on everything is pretty insane. Alright, so we talked about a ton of different issuers in this video, many of which have some powerful setups when combining cards within their ecosystem. But choosing the right setup is important, so go on and check out this video for an in-depth comparison between 2 of the most popular setups to make sure you're not leaving value on the table. Do you have a favorite card on today's list? Let us know down below and I'll see you over there.